The Broken Light, the tale of Isaiah Ruben Hargrove. The tavern at the edge of the borderlands was loud that night, too loud for a man who preferred silence. Isaiah Hargrove sat in a corner, his back to the wall, the firelight casting gold over his weathered face. His long dark hair fell in uneven waves across his shoulders, a shadow of his once immaculate paladin's braid. His armor was gone, sold, melted, and forbidden, but his presence still commanded the room. Even the drunks knew not to push too far. He lifted a mug of ale, took a slow drink, and stared at the flame. It flickered, and for a moment, it looked like a sword being raised to the heavens. He had once raised such a sword. The bloodline of light. The Hargrove name had once meant something sacred. For 6 generations, the family had served as the divine hand of justice, each bound by a different oath, each carrying the torch of their ancestors into a darkening world. There was Ariadne Hargrove, the first, who swore the oath of the crown, a fierce warrior who stood between the chaos of the wild and the peace of civilization. She saved kings and queens and built the foundation of the Paladin order itself. Her son Zachariah followed, a paladin of devotion, who believed that truth and mercy were stronger than steel. Then came Rihanna, who took the oath of vengeance, turning her blade upon those who preyed upon the weak. Ruben Hargrove, Isaiah's grandfather, loved the world too much to see it burn. He swore the oath of the ancients, fighting to preserve beauty and laughter even in the darkest wars. And Isaiah's mother, Liliana, bore the oath of the Watchers, guarding the mortal realms from otherworldly corruption. Theirs was a family of light, each generation a flame passed to the next. Until Isaiah, the young general. From the moment he first held a sword, Isaiah was different. He was quicker than most, cleverer than his teachers, and carried the weight of command as though he'd been born for it. By 25, he had become one of the youngest generals in the Paladin Order's history. He led a platoon of 300, men and women who would follow him anywhere. And when the War of the Shadowed Star began, they did. It was a war unlike any before. Dark sorcerers rose from forgotten kingdoms, wielding ancient magics and summoning horrors that twisted the very land. The paladins fought at the front lines, holy light against unholy flame, and Isaiah became a legend in the chaos. He was called the Sunsworn, the Sword of the Dawn, the man who could rally soldiers on the brink of despair. He fought for the innocent, for hope, for the same ideals his family had sworn to protect for centuries. And when the war finally ended, Isaiah believed peace had returned. He was wrong. The fall of the Order. The new High Commander of the Paladin Order, Ezekiel Silverstone, had lost too much in the war, his wife, his children, his faith. His grief festered into anger, and his anger into tyranny. Under his rule, the Order began to twist. What had been an arm of justice became a weapon of domination. Ezekiel preached that only Paladin law was true law, that the light must rule all, or darkness would return. Villages that refused conversion were branded heretics. Shrines were burned. Priests and healers who followed other paths were hunted as traitors. Isaiah tried to reason with him. He spoke to the council. He pleaded that their purpose was to protect, not to rule. But his words fell on deaf ears, drowned by zeal and fear. Then came the order that would break him. The village of Emberfall. A small settlement named Emberfall refused to surrender its old ways. They worshipped the winds, the rivers, and the spirits of their ancestors. They had harmed no one, yet they would not bow. Ezekiel commanded Isaiah to march his platoon to the village and burn it to ash as an example. Isaiah obeyed the march but not the order. That night, while his soldiers slept, he gathered 11 of his most loyal warriors, men and women who still believed the light was meant to save, not destroy. Together, they entered Emberfall and warned the people. They helped them gather what they could, guided them into the mountains, and watched the fires of their homes fade behind them. At dawn, when Ezekiel's army arrived, they found only Isaiah and the 11 waiting in the square. Isaiah dropped his sword at their feet and said, "If this is the light, then it has gone blind." The exile. Ezekiel made an example of him. The 11 were sent for retraining. Isaiah was condemned. He was stripped of his title, his rank, and his bloodline. He was forced to melt down the heirlooms of 6 generations, Ariadne's shield, Zachariah's chestplate, Rihanna's bracers, Ruben's helmet, Liliana's sword, and watch the metal run like tears into the fire. Their names were erased from the archives, struck from the history of the Paladin order. The Hargrove line was cursed with a 6-generation ban. Only the 7th descendant, centuries hence, could hope to reclaim their honor. Isaiah walked away from the only life he had ever known, carrying nothing but his sword, his guilt, and the memory of his ancestors' light. The broken Paladin. Years passed. Now, Isaiah wanders the borderlands, taking whatever work he can find. He hunts monsters for coin, guards caravans, and fights in wars that are not his own. He drinks too much. Fights too often. Loves and leaves without looking back. But when bandits threaten a town, or a dark creature hunts the innocent, he answers, without coin, without hesitation. The villagers call him the Broken Light. A man who has fallen from grace, yet cannot stop protecting those in need. And sometimes, when the night is quiet, and the stars burn bright, he kneels in the grass, touches the earth, and whispers the names he was forced to forget. Ariadne. Zachariah. Rihanna. Ruben. Liliana. Forgive me, I could not be the flame. But I will not let it die. Then he rises, sword in hand, and walks once more into the dark, for even a broken light can still cast a shadow against the night.